Our deficits are $2 trillion. We borrow $2 trillion a year, and that's the highest it's ever been during a time of peace, without a recession or without a war. And that, again, we are going to borrow over $22 trillion over the next decade if we do nothing. If we extend the tax cuts, which is the big discussion, which I'm sure we'll hit on, that will add to the debt, because sadly, we will not grow our way out of it, as many people will promise. That won't happen. I think the most troubling item in all this is our interest payments. Our government interest payments are the single fastest growing part of the federal budget. Some of you will remember that when interest rates were so low, there were all sorts of people, not you guys, saying, oh, this is great. Well, they'll stay low forever. We should borrow more. And we felt like we were shouting in the wind saying, please don't borrow more. Please don't borrow more, because interest rates will go up. And when they do, and your debt load is bigger, the amount the government owes on its interest grows really quickly. So it's the single fastest growing part of the federal budget. It just became the second largest item. It is now larger than national defense. It has been well documented by other historians that no country has ever survived remaining as a leading nation if they're paying more on interest than national defense. To me, it's one of the biggest warning signs that there is. This growth, the biggest problem in our federal budget is the growth of our mandatory spending program. So the interest payments is the fastest, but the other two are, you will remember these because they are the two that both people running for president promised not to fix, but they are Social Security and Medicare. Our growth in our federal budget is driven pretty much completely by spending on retirement and healthcare. 82% of the growth over the next 10 years will come from healthcare, retirement, and interest on the debt. Most areas of the budget are projected to shrink, including defense, which is 2.9% of GDP and is projected to go down to 2.1% of GDP. And that's not going to happen because it's a really risky world compared to where we were before. So that's going to go up, which means those numbers are worse. So we have never had a fiscal situation that was as bad as this one. And the problem is that we now are promising, on Social Security and Medicare, it's not just that their growth is so high, they're going to become insolvent. Both of them have trust funds that are, when they run out of money, you can't pay the benefits. So I don't know if you guys get this. I used to, and they stopped sending it to me, probably because I'm always out there talking about Social Security reform. But you'll get something each month saying, like, this is how much you've accrued in benefits. And I don't know if they've changed it, but the font used to be super small, and like font 2, it would say, like, except we don't have the money to pay this. So that's the situation. We have Social Security benefits that are promised. In 2033, there will be an across-the-board benefit cut of 21% for everybody, for Bill Gates, for your 90-year-old, widow who depends on the program. Everyone will have benefits cut unless we make changes. And likewise in Medicare, it's not the whole program, but part of it also has these trust funds that will be insolvent. Then you won't pay providers, and there won't be the delivery of the healthcare system. They're in huge trouble. Mm-hmm. And the problem is, what you were saying is, why has nobody done anything about this? The only fixes are really hard. And we have to make changes in Social Security. We have to raise the retirement age. When the program started, retirement age was 65 and life expectancy was 62. That's going to work, right? That's going to work until the first retiree, Ida Mae Fuller, lives to be 100. And then you're like, oh, wait a second, things will change. They change. Our life expectancy is much, much higher now. We need to make changes to these programs. We also, at the federal level, spend $6 per senior on every $1 we spend on people below 18 years old. That is pretty backwards. And it is really backwards if you look at how competitive an environment that generation is inheriting. But nobody wins elections on this. I can't tell you how many times I'll go on. I'm probably the only person who gets to brief people running for president, even of different parties, even in the same election. So there have been times I got to talk to both of them, because I'm not political, just talk about the issues. But as soon as you say, like, listen, you're gonna have to make changes to Social Security and Medicare, and by the way, you're going to have to raise taxes. You can't do this on the entire spending side. Like, I've already been pushed out of the room because that's a losing message. And this is, we were talking last night about how you make change, like how, I'm an advocate, like how do I change this? And the problem is, if anybody follows the advice our organization says right now, they'll lose. So there are many people who believe this, who agree with this, but you don't say, like, go out and commit suicide. The whole thing is, how do we get enough people who are bought in, who are strange bedfellows, who have different perspectives, who will all say, like, here's the truth. We do have to touch Social Security. We do have to touch Medicare. And we are going to have to raise revenues because we can't do it all on the spending side because we waited so long. How do you get enough people to deliver that message? And the moment we're in, Esther, I think is the opposite. This is like ultimate polarized moment. The two parties, everything's an existential threat. We have to win this. We have to win this. We will tell people whatever they want in order so that we have a majority. And then, we won't do what we thought we would do because then we'll lose the majority. And so unless there is somebody who has a platform who can change the discussion, and Elon Musk, he does care about this issue, but what he's talking about won't fix it. And I worry that becomes a distraction where everybody's like, okay, great, DOGE has got this. We don't need to worry anymore. We need somebody who's going to be, we need Ross Perot back in modern form. I did once fly down to see him to say, like, we need you back. And he said, no, not doing it. But he had his charts, like, literally, I think they were scotch taped on the wall. And it's like, we got to frame these. This is a big moment. We need somebody who's able to convince people that this is a moment of importance, not just because if we don't do anything, it will be so awful. But if we don't do anything, it's not that we talk about the frog in the boiling water. And the frog in the boiling water doesn't know the water's boiling, and it gradually gets worse and worse and worse. And we have been lulled into complacency. We're not going to die the way the frog does, where he just dies from the boiling water. But it's going to keep us, because we can't jump out, keep us from fixing the things we really have to do. It is a riskier world than it used to be. Our cybersecurity stinks. If anybody doesn't know about Salt Typhoon, take half an hour and learn about Salt Typhoon and Volt Typhoon. It is some scary stuff that's out there, and our cyber defense stinks. You haven't heard about it because it hasn't been covered by much other than the Wall Street Journal, because there's nothing we can do about it. Do you know about this? It's bad stuff. So we were talking at lunch, and I talk a lot about AI is happening, whether you want it to or not. I think it's both amazing and scary. But we need to change our economic system because we have a social contract that was crafted for the problems of last century. That's not the problem anymore. It's not that seniors are destitute. Seniors are the richest cohort there is. It's that we are not going to be able to adapt to really huge, fast changes that are going on if we don't have some kind of government involvement in an economic system that allows for that and partners with that. We're not working on that at all because we're so fiscally constrained. So my biggest concern is not that we're going to have like a Greece or a Central America-like debt crisis. It is keeping us from doing all the things we otherwise need to, on top of slowing our economic growth, shrinking our fiscal space, which means when there's the next emergency, we might not be able to borrow without interest rates going up. We've been lucky so far because of the privilege we have of the role we play in the global economy. That's not going to work if we squander it. But it's these inabilities to deal with these bigger threats that, I'm not kidding, leaves me up at night. I wake up and just think, oh my God, we're not prepared for these things.